It's recording. Start the video.
Oh. So what's the care committee?
Care committee. The Quakers do everything by meeting, and that's like the top organization is a meeting, and then under that is committees. So committees are composed of the people who compose meetings, but in smaller groups. And then committees can do anything. They're like the corporations of the Quakers.
Yeah.
Care committee is a group of Quakers that meets specifically in regards to caring for an individual, or it can be a group, or it can be a project, or it can be a project leader. That's an individual in their role as project leader, an individual just as themselves, or a project that an individual has, which they would like to sort of give up primary ownership and accountability to in favor of giving it to this group of Quakers called a committee, a care committee for this project that they are on. They're on the committee to take care of their own project, but they're also giving up some of that power over being the only one to control the project. Not in terms of agency. Like, the committee doesn't have any, like, ability to, like, keep the project manager from doing something. Mm-hmm. They can only, like, say what's coming up for them because of the spirits, like, believe in spirits, but you could do this with, like, anything else. Anyway, I'm getting too meta. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
What was your question?
What's a care committee?
What is a care committee? I've never had a care committee. He's had care committees. What's a care committee?
Right. So I had a care committee which was interesting. So I inherited a care committee as the project leader, and the care committee was for the projects, but also for me as the project leader, as I was learning how to run this mentoring program.
What if those two things came into conflict? Doesn't it have to be like just one?
What do you mean?
You as the project leader versus the project. Your aims as a project leader could go against those of the project.
I think theoretically, yes.
But practically, their focus is on supporting you and not supporting the project. Okay.
And also, I feel like also I feel like my work would have to depart significantly from the original project's work for them to.
Like, that wouldn't happen because this is a care committee for the project leader, not for Chase.
Exactly.
It's for the project leader, but it's not importantly for the project itself. It's for the project leader. Mm-hmm. Could you do one for the project?
Probably, but it would look different, and they would have to decide what the point of having a mentoring program was.
Well, that's what the project.
It's like it very much wasn't established as something the yearly meeting is doing to like have more Quakers. They were just begrudgingly allotting like 1% resources.
Sure. If anyone actually knows about that, comment, and just add a plus to it at the beginning. Go plus. Actually, care committees. You Quakers love your actuallys. Go actually the way, but you have to have a plus in front of it. If you don't have a plus, I won't read it, and if you do, I will pay attention to it.
Teacher moves.
Don't show my pedagogical laundry to everyone, please. What is a care committee? A group of people that meet. Committee as in Quaker committee. So a group of Quakers, a group of friends. Mm-hmm. A group of friends that meets, and we don't really have to be all friends, because if so, we would never have a marriage committee. But they do have to understand what's going on, and that involves, for us, the sort of basic tenet of Quakerism is that if everybody gets together and believes that the spirit can move them and will move them, and is just quiet waiting for the spirit to speak, when one of them speaks, we can trust that that is a spirit, because we've all agreed that only the spirit speaks here through us. And we also, this doesn't really happen, but like we also kind of agree that we all believe that that's happening, right? We're gonna agree that whatever you said was in line with the spirit, unless we have a compelling reason not to, which also happens, right? But overall, sort of like everybody's allowed to speak because we believe that everybody's speaking from the spirit. God is inspiring them to stand up and give a message. Vocal testimony. In a committee, you're aligned all to what the spirit is saying. It's not me, your mom, telling you that you need to be nicer to your husband. It is me, your mom, waiting on this committee for the spirit to speak and then being inspired to tell you that you should be nicer to your husband. There's a big difference there, theologically, in relationships too. Like, obviously that may incite in conflict between you and your mother. This is not a real example at all whatsoever. Move a little. I got lost. I'll edit that out. What were they saying? My point there was just to illustrate one-to-one. It may impact your one-to-one relationships, but it's not. It's supposed to be that you both agree that this space, this place of meeting as a committee, is somehow holy, somehow sacred, somehow you are all agreeing that you're waiting for God to speak through you, or whatever you believe in that, right? Maybe you're just waiting to like attune yourself, let go of your ego, and then speak from the heart. That can be a way you see it too, is fine. But like the point is that you agree that this is a special, safe space. Yeah. I'm gonna use the term safe, but like that's sort of the best thing I have for it, right? This is a safe and elevated space in which we're all attuning to something greater than ourselves. Mm-hmm. And for that reason, our opinion as a group has to carry more weight than our individual opinions. For you, the project manager, or the individual under our care.
Exactly.
That was great. I don't know what I'm talking about.
You do?
Your turn.
You're so smart. My turn. What was my turn?
I don't know. But we said what it is.
Mm-hmm.
What it's for?
What it is, what it's for.
What it's for is let's say what it's for a project leader.
So for a project leader, and I feel like this is distinct because for larger political reasons, the project itself wasn't something that was being like that supported by the yearly meeting itself. It was very much like
I feel like part of the point is to capture any support needs that are so nebulous that they're never gonna be captured by anything else.
Yes.
Right? I have a feeling in my heart that what I'm doing is wrong, but I can't quite say why. It's something that came up for Marissa. Mm-hmm. Marissa Bradley, what's up? Hey, shout out. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I only have other people's opinions, so like I'm just going to share things I've heard from other friends. We can cut that out. We can just say a friend. A friend who had like a support committee for themselves, but also a support committee for themselves includes their career. And so this was like in her career, she was having trouble being like, I'm doing all this work to bring money in to support men of color who teach, that project particularly.
Exactly.
What is it called?
See Men Teach.
Which she started. But I can tell, like, this organization is siphoning off a bunch of these funds and not even getting, like, metro passes to the people who need them, right? And so for her, it was like, I can't, like, this feeling in my heart, like, doing my job to the best that I can, but there's something weighing on my conscience. I'm probably butchering that story. But the point is that, like, in her professional career, as a personal support care committee, she had to bring nebulous sort of, like, concerns, right? It's not like there's something to report, like, is just how organizations function, right? Like, get the money first, and then they distribute it, and they give it. It's not something that's, like, a legal thing that you can go to anyone to, or, like, a whistleblower thing, or even something that's, like, that big of a story. It's just a thing that's weighing on you because you are so involved in it. And then it's, how do I, as a Quaker, live my conscience? What is my conscience saying, right? Help me figure that out. And so the group takes on part of that authority, right? We're all going to together listen and help you listen to God, because it's really hard to listen to God and stuff that has to do with yourself, and that is so complicated, right? And that's stuff that, like, you don't have the experience of an 80-year-old. You don't have the lived experience of someone who's been in these organizations their whole life. You don't have the lived experience of someone who's been in and out of them and sees, well, you know, they do shady shit, but, like, everyone does shady shit. And maybe it's not that big of a, you just have to understand that exists there, and that maybe at some point you will have to jump ship because of it. Or someone who's like, nah, it always goes the same way, and like the life experience of other people is supposed to come together so that God can speak through them and tell you what you need to hear in that moment. And they can make decisions. I know that like groups can make decisions about something, but then you as the individual can go against that decision.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk about that. Doesn't that create like a weird thing?
I mean, I feel like this was one of the reasons that it was well defined as a support committee for the project leader and not a committee for the project itself, because the only, I don't know, guiding mandate or goal or requirement of that, like, you know, that like had to remain pure with the project, which like didn't have to remain that pure. It was like mentorship as like a goal and a practice. Oh, mentorship is a goal and a practice. How much range do we have with that? I don't know. What were you thinking? Is the response to everything I was ever listening about. It definitely was like, and it's not like a thing. It's like there was no institutional support here, no institutional goal of mentorship, because like I cannot overstate the extent to which the institution was deeply unconcerned with like the future or younger generations of Quakers. That was like, it was very much. Also, it was very clear for.
So it was also like the bite, which is definitely what happened to me. Like bite that the creation of this thing by the meeting. The institution is the meeting, the biggest meeting, right? The meeting, the yearly meeting, supported by the monthly meetings in New York. Telling them. They had bitten off more than they could chew, but in doing that, they themselves also put into place these things so that you wouldn't be taking the full brunt of the fallout.
Exactly.
Okay, talk more of that.
Yeah. I was like, leading the project, but like I didn't like explicitly didn't have to do wasn't even like expected to do everything for on a lot of levels. So like when it was time to do like phone calls, like the phone calls were split up pretty equally, and then a couple of people who were retired or had time, or like this was the specific reason they had made time for. They took a lot of calls, but that was like their main involvement.
Okay.
And like, which I found like really interesting and helpful. I think that's like, I mean, the relay tag in tag out style. I feel like
there was actual work
sustainable.
involved for the people in your committee.
Yeah.
Is that always true? I felt like that wasn't true. I felt like the support care committees. Oh, I guess the support committee is different than the care committee.
Yeah.
We're talking about care committees particularly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, I feel like a support committee is like a larger scale version of a care committee because like in my understanding and in my conception and like whatever of,
which
like,
is flawed and limited.
Yeah, exactly.
So, because of all of the issues we were talking about. So in the comments, add a plus, and then tell us how it should be. Go ahead.
Exactly.
I dare you. I dare you.
So a care committee would be more like for personal spiritual stuff or like smaller projects. And like a support committee would be longer term stuff that involves more moving parts.
So I think it was
like,
a support committee that Larissa had for her career, I think.
Yeah.
And then I think there's people who have individual care committees.
Yeah, totally.
Right? So they have individual care committees that they have for long periods of time. So a care committee is more similar to a marriage committee.
Yeah.
Which we still don't have. So if you know anything about marriage committees, add that plus. Tell us about marriage committees.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, and also, like, I feel like the thing with the support committee, like, we were really explicit about, like, oh, so what's the level of, like, commitment in this particular type of care committee? I feel like I definitely swapped out care and support, like,
I know, I do that too, but someone corrected me once. Because I
Okay.
think that a support committee has more of a goal. Like, you're supporting a project that a person has, even if you're supporting them as a leader of the project.
Yeah.
I think. Whereas, sorry. Excuse me. Whereas a care committee, I think, is concerned with the thing itself. A care committee sounds like more like a marriage committee, and a support committee sounds more like, I don't know, the names for those ad hoc committees they have.
Yeah.
Where it's like teeny tiny committees.
Goal-centered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Short term. Like, we need a group
yeah.
of people to be responsible for doing this thing, but this group of people doesn't necessarily have to be fully clear about belonging to this group.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because also, like, definitely that
So
was,
talk
like,
about the level of involvement for the people, because I feel like people are always like, you don't have to do that much, you just have to be there and, like, listen to Spirit. But, like, sometimes you do have to do more, and sometimes you want to do more.
Yeah.
So, like, what does that end up looking like?
So for that, it was actually pretty clear. I found it really interesting because, like, this was, I think, I took over either in the third or fourth year of the project, so, like, it had been, like, there were a few things that, like, were, like, a fairly well-oiled,
It
like,
started as
system.
the Whisper Buddy system at Summer Sessions, right?
No idea.
Oh, okay.
Like, exactly. Like,
Okay.
I don't know where its origin
I thought
like,
that's
I know
where
it was,
started, but I
like,
might not have.
requested by the youth of the broader tri-state area, but, like, again, with the begrudging implementation, like, it was very much like the people who had decided to, like, take this project on as their baby were on this committee. Like, it was like...
So anybody who cares about this, go join the committee and leave us alone.
Exactly.
Was the vibe of it?
That was very much
so
the
in
vibe.
that way, because it had such a limited people, those people were by nature of themselves going to be doing more work.
Yeah, so
Because they wanted to keep the thing alive, so be on that committee and go keep that thing alive. And it did. It was alive, and it lasted at least one more time.
Yeah, and, like, a lot
maybe?
of things were,
I don't
like,
know.
very domain-specific, too. So, like, I don't know.
How many
probably
people
had
were on it?
7 or 8 people
Okay.
in the committee. We lost a few.
Okay.
And,
Like, lost a few, what does that mean? Like, they permanently stopped coming?
They permanently stopped coming, or they had to really step back and were like, okay, send me emails, but, like, I'm not going to be able to, like, be in.
And how was that met? Was that all sort of like the same, okay, it's time? Did they have to consult the committee before they did that?
No, it was just like,
Did any of them want to?
No.
They were just like informing you, I gotta...
Yeah,
so
like...
I guess that would be a part of a support committee that a care committee would have to take more care with.
Yeah.
Right? Care committee, you would have to, not ask for permission, but maybe just give more advance notice or let them in, or like think about how it would affect the person you're caring for to have this happen, and so just like accordingly make a little speech, or like talk to them in private, or make sure there's a lot of buffer, you start teasing it, stuff like that.
Exactly.
So a support committee I would place under care committee.
Yeah.
Okay. And so marriage committee is the ultimate marriage care committee.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, if you know anything about that, or you want to volunteer to be on one, hit that plus and let us know down below. We should insert an ad that's like recruiting for care committees. Okay, wait, one sec. Marriage committee, care committee, support committee.
Yeah.
There's advisory committees. Isn't that also support advisory?
Yeah.
I was on an advisory committee for the YAF stuff.
Yeah.
For NYYM. And that felt like a board. I've also attended them. Like, attended other people's or stuff for other projects where I'm just, like, a guest that day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, either in my work or just to observe or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys ever have any guests?
Like my committee?
Yeah. Random people who came to give a report or something.
Not at all.
Because sometimes people are asked to give reports even if they're not on the committee. It's like, oh, will you come talk to the committee group and, like, talk about this thing? Okay, cool, bye.
Yeah, I feel like if we were doing more, we might have gotten there eventually.
So that would have belonged there, but you guys didn't have it ever.
Yeah.
I think we had some people stop by, especially because we were the YAF advisory committee. There was a lot of YAFs on there, so people who wanted YAF input. So, like, when the yearly meeting created the job, the YAF coordinator job.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not. The director job. I'm not going to say it. I refuse to say that title. The director job. The YAF director. The queen of the kids with a Q. That's how I thought of myself. The queen of the Quaker kids with a Q. The kids is with a Q.
The Q.
Queen of the Quaker kids. That was how I thought of my title. Whatever was I saying? That job, when they were in the process of writing that job, they came to us, the advisory committee, to ask for input on the writing of the job. So we were helping them create the job description.
Yeah.
Gave them tons of advice. None of it was followed. They ignored everything I said.
Yeah. They did.
Which I was like, you're mining us for labor, which we talked about it later. We were like, why are they mining us for labor? Like, giving us no actual... We can't even meet these people. We can't even know who's applying. Like, it was ridiculous. Non-profiteerism to the max. But my point is that the advisory committee for YAF stuff was consulted for creation on the YAF thing. And that was, like, a person coming to us and, like, saying their bit and then asking a bunch of questions of us. And then us kind of answering, discussing a little bit. I don't know. And that was... 3 years ago? I guess more than 3 years ago now, but...
Probably 2 years ago, because I was...
When did I have this job? I don't know, but I was on the road. That's why I remember. I was on the road coming back, so it had to have been when Becca started school.
Right.
21?
22, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
When did I get this job?
Beginning of...
I got married in 22.
Oh, no, so it must have been 21. You're right.
Yeah, 21. Yeah, so in 21. I remember I was on that advisory committee, and we were on the road because we were driving from California to Yale, to New Haven, California to New Haven, as opposed to from New Haven to California, which check out my vlogs. My vlogs.
Yeah.
Last two out are not out yet.
Okay. So
I remember being asked. So that's the thing that advisory, like, they can receive reports, they can have guests, they can be asked things. Obviously, it's different for personal versus institutional, but sometimes personal projects are kind of in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a serious thing, like, you're actually asking for help with this project. Like, people are volunteering. Nobody's paid to be on these. Mm-hmm. People get paid to, like, be secretaries. So, like, their whole job is to sort of be the secretary for this group, which just means, like, the field worker for this group.
Yeah.
They don't get paid to clerk, although I feel like they should.
I agree.
But to serve on a committee, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
Well, especially for, like, a personal care committee, you definitely wouldn't get paid. I mean, I don't know. Plus, tell us if we're wrong.
Yeah, well, also, like...
I feel like Quakers do everything under the sun. Like, they...
Yeah, definitely.
But I feel like I'm trying to distill, like, how you would explain these practices to someone who was just coming in as I now understand them to function.
Exactly. Because it took, oh my gosh, didn't it take such a long time between us to, like, okay, what are they doing?
Well, okay, the thing is that people recommended them, but when it was like, you get one, they were like, I don't know, you turn twice and, like, pray to the stars and, like, sacrifice a goat, bury your wish. I was like, are we doing witchcraft here? Like, I thought it was a group that met for something. Like, and so that's the hard part. That's part of what we do in our jobs, is to coordinate care committees. Like, explain them, especially because we work with a lot of people who are not Quakers or new to Quakerism, or the people who they think, like, they have no Quaker peers, and so, like, they would like a support committee, a care committee for themselves, or for a project they're doing, but they don't know any Quakers, and so it's like, how do I do this new practice? That sounds cool, that sounds like what I need, that sounds like it fits into, like, the nebulousness of the kind of support that I need, that's more, like, emotional, socio, but professional, right? You don't need a personal therapist. You need, like, moral manager as a group, like a moral group angel, which, like, this committee is helping you sort of, like, do the job of. A steward. Dare I say a pastor. Pastoral work. Is that where that comes from? Let's not talk about the Christian. Oh, Christian language.
Yeah, I mean, I think having, like, a way to, like, center whatever your guiding light or guiding compass is.
to capture all the stuff that's really important but very nebulous. I think that's a
Exactly.
big part of it.
Yeah, and like definitely the nebulous problems of like, okay, so what could you not do by yourself, and there's not like a direct way to ask for help or pay.
Or no one has the answer, right?
Yeah.
The kind of stuff that like gets lost and stuff like that's what the committee's for. Is like you bring it there and they do it, which can also be abused if it's like a work committee,
Totally.
because people can bring their actual work to that committee and be like abusing their time, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Which maybe happened at yearly meeting.
That's true.
So that's just a thing to note. But we're talking about support committees. So you're being supported, or care committees.
Support committees.
So a support committee is supporting something. A care committee is taking care of something.
Yeah.
And therein lies the difference. So if you want a care committee, you have to ask someone to arrange it for you.
Yeah.
People cannot arrange their own care committees.
Yeah, no.
And honestly, it's bonkers to ask them to.
No, insane. It's absolutely insane. Because it's a very vulnerable thing to ask someone to do.
I got told that. I was like, how do I get me one of those? Because I got asked to be on one. And I was like, okay, but can I get one? And they were like, okay. It listed like 47 things to do. And I was like, I'm never going to get one.
Yeah, it's just like...
Whereas I was told to ask them, and they would be the ones arranging it for me. And they were the ones arranging it for someone else, which is why I thought they could help arrange one for me. But no.
Yeah, I honestly...
You don't get a care committee. You don't get a support committee. You don't get a marriage committee.
Yeah, honestly, it was racism. I don't know what.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about care committees, support committees.
Okay,
and that you aren't supposed to arrange your own.
Exactly. You aren't supposed to arrange your own. It's a bit of a vulnerable thing. And, like, also, like, you want to pick your care committee should be, like, you know, I don't not experienced in care for that thing, but, like...
Should be appropriate.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
There should be some thought.
Like, should be, like, experience and skill appropriate.
I mean, it can be hard because, like, you can be limited in who you're able to ask, right? It's like, I only have one friend who I would trust, and, like, maybe this family member, or maybe this stranger. Sometimes it's easier to ask strangers who, like, are in a role where they care about you and might do this, because it's a little bit, like, there's a little veneer of professionalism to it.
Exactly.
Right? Or just, like, a level of seriousness to it that's different than, like, a one-on-one or, like, a casual group thing, right? It's, like, it's vulnerable to admit that you need care, but also everyone needs care, so it's not that weird to be on someone's care committee.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Would you say that?
Yeah, I would say that's true.
And so you're supposed to, like, ask someone, and then they're supposed to, like, inquire. Sometimes they'll just, like, give you to someone else and be like, okay, like, this person is going to help you put it together or help put it together for you. Sometimes they do it, right? Sometimes they're the go-between.
Exactly.
That happens, too. And then, I was going to start talking about nominating and naming, and we can't do that today.
Yeah, no. Also, like...
So, how do you get one?
So, how do you get one? Well, you need someone to organize one on your behalf, for starters.
So, you ask someone, and either they get one, like, have someone else who's in charge of that, or who wants to do that for you.
Yeah.
Or they take it upon themselves to help you out. It doesn't mean they'll be on it, but to help you put it together. They might be on it.
Exactly.
And they might start on it.
Yeah, and I mean, in traditionally, you would ask, like, your meeting or a meeting to organize this for you, but, like, if you don't have a meeting, then, like, you've got to, like...
Freestyle.
Find a friend.
Freestyle it.
Yeah.
What we call freestyle Quakers. Freestyle Quakers. Freestyle Quakers.
Freestyle Quakers.
What we call freestyle Quakers.
Freestyle.
I just came up with that. Go on. I'm sorry.
I'm distracted now.
You gotta do it yourself if you have no institutional support.
Exactly. So there's...
But traditionally, you would just ask someone, and either they would tell you, oh, go ask that person, or they'd be like, hey, yo, Hugo, what's his face wants a support committee, a care committee, an advisory committee. Advisory is, like, at the bottom. That's just basically, like, a panel of advisors, right? And I feel like even though you're supposed to all believe in the spirit, there's not as much, like, spiritual grounding.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like...
It's more about, like, your literal opinions. Like, yo, we need youths to have an opinion on this. Give us 6 youths in a room, and then we'll ask them, right?
Yeah.
It's less sort of, like, let's center... I mean, we did, like, worship together and center together, but it's less of that and more of, like, literal advice that they need. Whereas I feel like for a care committee, it's, like, really deep issues that need a lot of thought and advice, and sometimes just to be held, even if the support committee is not actually solving them. Like, that person just wants to be heard, wants to know that this is a big issue. Like, maybe they just come every week and talk about it. And it can be therapeutic, but the point is not therapy.
Yeah. No, I definitely think... Yeah, I feel
It shouldn't be giving more work to the therapist, though. It should be lessening the nebulous part of the work between, I think, therapy and, like, professional guidance, if it's, like, a support committee. Even with a care committee, because so much of caring has to do with your vocation.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm Quaker, sorry. I'm Quaker, sorry. Support committee, care committee, what's the difference? How do you get one? Who's on one? It's crazy to ask someone to make their own.
Yeah, no, I think the key differences lie wherein, like, what the level of commitment is from the committee.
Okay.
And, like, what the goal of it is overall.
Okay.
So the structure, a lot of things look the same, but a lot of things look necessarily different because every project is different, and it seems like, from the ones I've seen, they seem very tailored to needs.
Yes. That's the point of having a committee, is that it's flexible. It has, like, a big mandate and a bunch of people to execute it, but it's got no other limitations.
Exactly. Because, like, I feel like...
The limitations of form are, like, we're people, and what we can do is meet, and what we can do is what we each, or individually or together, do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of a committee. Yeah. Polymorphous being. Okay, this has been, I don't know. Let's have a name. Question time with the Quaker Kids Queen.
Quaker Queen?
With the Queen of the Quaker Kids.
Queen of the Quaker Kids. The Q.
This has been Question Time with the Queen of the Quaker Kids.
The Q.
And the King. With a Q. Again, if you want to leave a comment, make a plus. Do a plus. Leave a plus, and then leave your comment. Tell us what we said wrong.
Yeah.
Or what we said right. Bye! Do we need a care committee?
I think so.
Nobody cares about us. Nobody cares about us.